प्रिय ईश्वर जी की कृपा, कतरा भी चुका पाऊँ, मुझ में वो बात नहीं, मेरी औकात नहीं। प्रिय ईश्वर जी की कृपा, कतरा भी चुका पाऊँ, मुझ में वो बात नहीं, मेरी औकात नहीं। गर सारी धरती को कागज में बना डालूं, गर सारी धरती को कागज में बना डालूं, गर सात समंदर को स्याही में बना डालूं, फिर भी वर्णन क्या करूं ईश्वर जी की महिमा का, फिर भी वर्णन क्या करूं ईश्वर जी की महिमा का, मुझ में वो बात नहीं, मेरी औकात नहीं।
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's satsang. Hi, welcome to today's satsang. So, today's schedule is we have a hymn by Nisha ji, Bhave Sukh De, by Gurudev. This is a Gurudev bhajan. Translation: Whether you give me sorrow or happiness, both are pleasing to me. Then we have a talk by Mohan ji, and after that we'll have talk by Sumit ji. Topic is receptivity. Then we'll have a short dhyan session. After that, we'll listen to Master's YouTube video, a group meditation with love and devotion. So thank you so much. Let's start with the Shabad.
Swami, today's hymn is by Gurudev Bhajan. Here, the seeker is telling the Lord, whether you give me sorrow or happiness, both your gifts are pleasing to me, whether virtues or full of faults. Dear Master, I am dyed in your color. I have adorned the henna or mehndi of your name, and the world calls me crazy. Wearing the cloak of your name, I am freed from the cycle of birth and death. The color of your name is different from anything else, but it is above everything else. Whether you give me sorrow or you give me happiness, both your gifts are pleasing to me, whether virtues or full of faults. Dear Sadguru, I am dyed in your color. पावे दुख दे पावे सुख दे पावे दुख दे पावे सुख दे मैनू दोवे ही गल्लां तेरियां चंगियां मैनू दोवे ही गल्लां तेरियां चंगियां पावे चंगिया पावे मंदिया पावे चंगिया पावे मंदिया सतगुर तेरिया रंगां दे विच रंगिया सतगुर तेरिया रंगां दे विच रंगिया तेरे नाम दी लालई मेहंदी तेरे नाम दी लालई मेहंदी दुनिया पागल मैनू कहंदी दुनिया पागल मैनू कहंदी पावे दुख दे पावे सुख दे पावे दुख दे पावे सुख दे मैनू दोवे ही गल्लां तेरियां चंगियां मैनू दोवे ही गल्लां तेरियां चंगियां तेरे नाम दा पाले चोला तेरे नाम दा पाले चोला मुक गया जन्म मरण दा रोला मुक गया जन्म मरण दा रोला पावे चंगिया पावे मंदिया पावे चंगिया पावे मंदिया सतगुर तेरिया रंगां दे विच रंगिया सतगुर तेरिया रंगां दे विच रंगिया तेरे नाम दा रंग अनोखा तेरे नाम दा रंग अनोखा पर सब दुनिया तो औखा, पर सब दुनिया तो औखा। पावे दुख दे, पावे सुख दे, पावे दुख दे, पावे सुख दे। मैनू दोवे ही गल्लां तेरियां चंगियां, मैनू दोवे ही गल्लां तेरियां चंगियां। पावे चंगियां, पावे मंदियां, पावे चंगियां, पावे मंदियां। सतगुर तेरियां रंगां दे विच रंगियां, सतगुर तेरियां रंगां दे विच रंगियां, सतगुर तेरियां रंगां दे विच रंगियां। Thank you, Master. Thank you, Lord. Radha Swami.
Vinaya, hi. Thank you, Nisha, for your beautiful Shabbat. We loved it. Akanksha, sister, are you there to translate Mohanji's talk? Because I think Vinaya's internet is not stable. Oh, she's with her baby. Okay, Vinaya, you can try. Hopefully your internet will work. Oh.
Can you hear me? So
Yeah,
if so,
now
we
it's
can
okay.
request him
Yeah.
to speak in English. But if
No,
he does not, then I'll.
no, it's okay. You can. I think you can. Now it's good. Your internet. Cool.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, Mohanji. If anybody doesn't know who Mohanji is, Mohanji has been initiated by Baba Sawan Singh when he was very young. He spent time with Baba Sawan Singh in the Dera, and he continued on serving Sant Kirpal Singh, and he did the best seva ever, which is driving Sant Kirpal for many years. He spent his life with the saints and masters, and we are so happy to have him with us. It's a treasure to have him with us. Just wanted to tell you some little about Mohanji. Okay, Mohanji, go ahead. Welcome.
Thank you.
करें जी आपसे सब करें।
Thank you. हाँ
जी शुरू करें।
अच्छा बेटे
विनाया ट्रांसलेट करेंगी।
हैं?
विनाया आपको ट्रांसलेट करेंगी। जी जी
ऐसा
बोलिए।
है, आज हम गुरबानी से कुछ बात करेंगे। जो गुरबानी है वो क्या कह रही है, उसके मुताल्लिक हम आज बात करेंगे। इससे बोलना था बोले।
हाँ बोलेंगे जी। विनाया जी आप ट्रांसलेट करें।
जी, जरूर। Namaskar, Mohan ji. So he's saying that today's satsang will be about what is written in Gurbani, and we will discuss what it says. So Mohan ji, please आप कहिए अभी।
अभी उस शब्द का पहला लफ्ज है फिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे। फिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे, सतगुर तुमरे काज सवारे। सतगुर तुमरे काज सवारे, दुष्ट दूत परमेश्वर मारे। जन की पैज रखे करतारे, बादशाह शाह सब बस कर लेने। अमृत नाम महारस पीने, निर्भय होए भजो भगवाना। साध संगत मिल कीने दाना, शरण पड़े प्रभ तुमरे। शरण पड़े तुमरे शरण, साध संगत मिल कीनो दाना। साध संगत मिल कीनो दाना। फिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे, सतगुर तुमरे काज सवारे। कि ये गुरबानी का शब्द है, इसका ट्रांसलेशन थोड़ा मुश्किल तो नहीं है, पर इसको सोचकर बात करना जो है वो और ढंग से। वो कहते हैं थिर घर, थिर मतलब जो हिलता जुलता ना हो। थिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे, ऐ गुरु के प्यारे, ऐ सतगुरु के शिष्य, आप थिर यानी शांत होकर के बैठो। शांत थिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे। ये कौन कौन सा घर है जिसके बारे में महाराज बता रहे हैं? वो जिस घर में हमने बैठकर भजन करना है, ये उस भजन का कह रहे हैं। तुम जब ध्यान में बैठते हो तो तुम्हारा ध्यान जो है वो मन पर एकाग्र हो जाए, उसके अलावा कुछ भी तुमको याद नहीं होना चाहिए। तो वो जो बात है, इसलिए उन्होंने ये कहा है कि जब भी तुम बैठो, शांतमय बैठो, तो आप उस जगह जाकर ये आपको मिल सकती है चीज। इसलिए उन्होंने ये कहा है फिर घर बैसो। वो जो घर है वो ये इसको कहा घर, जहां पर वो प्रकट होता है। फिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे, ऐ प्रभु के बच्चों, तुमने अगर पाना है तो शांत और जहां पर वो है वहां पर ध्यान अपना लगाओ। फिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे। फिर आगे कहा सतगुरु तुमरे का ईश्वर, तुम्हारा अपना कोई जोर नहीं होना चाहिए। क्यों? कि जिसका तुम जिसके लिए बैठे हो वो तुम्हारे सारे काज सवार करेगा, ठीक कर देगा। तो इसलिए आप इस स्थान पर बैठो और अपना ध्यान जो है इसको ऊपर ले जाओ, तब तुमको आगे वो चीज मिलेगी। फिर यह कहा फिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे, सतगुरु तुमरे का सवारे। तुम्हारा अपना काम कोई नहीं है, सब तुम्हारा काम गुरु करता है। इसलिए तुम गुरु पे विश्वास करके बैठोगे तो ये चीजें मिलेगी। फिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे, सतगुरु तुमरे का सवारे, दुष्ट दूत परमेश्वर मारे। दुष्ट दूत कौन से हैं? जो काम, क्रोध, लोभ, मोह, अहंकार है, ये दुष्ट है। ये हमारी जो वृत्ति है इसको खींच करके दुनिया के बाहर भोगों में ले जाती है। तो इसको मारने के लिए सतगुरु की दया मेहर जो है वो हमारा काम करती है। फिर कर बैसो हर जन प्यारे, सतगुरु तुमरे का सवारे, दुष्ट दूत परमेश्वर मारे। जन की पैज रखी करता रहे। जो जो आदमी भजन के लिए बैठता है वो जब गुरु के हवाले हो जाता है तो उसके सारे काज सतगुरु खुद करता है। तुम्हें जोर लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है। तुम शांतमय बैठ जाओ तो गुरु आपका सारा काम करता है। गुरु अंदर है, गुरु बाहर नहीं। गुरु हमारे अंदर है, गुरु बाहर नहीं। इसलिए ये शब्द महाराज का है, इसलिए इसको हमने इसके ऊपर हमने चलना है। थिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे, सतगुर तुमरे काय सवारे, दुष्ट दूत परमेश्वर मारे, जन की पैज रखी करतारे। जो दुष्ट दूत हैं, ये हमारे जो भोग बलाश हमारे ये हैं, ये दुष्ट हैं। इनको सतगुरु की दया से जब हम सतगुरु का ध्यान करते हैं तो इनका नाश हो जाता है, तब सतगुरु आता है। दुष्ट दूत परमेश्वर मारे, जन की पैज रखे करतारे। जो सिख भजन पर बैठा है, उसको उसकी जो लाज है, उस पर जो दया मेहर है, वो गुरु खुद करता है। हमारे सिर्फ हमारा काम इतना ही है कि हमको बैठ जाना, बैठने के बाद हमने गुरु के हवाले हो जाना। गुरु के हवाले हो जाएंगे तो हमारा काम बन जाएगा। अगर गुरु के हवाले हम नहीं हुए तो दुनिया में भटकते रहे तो फिर हम भजन में कामयाबी नहीं मिलेगी। दुष्ट दूत परमेश्वर मारे, जन की पैज रखे करतारे। बादशाह शाह सब बस कर ले। कहते हैं जो बड़े बड़े बादशाह हैं, जो दुनिया के जानने वाले हैं, बातों का करने वाले, वो सब गुरु के वश में आ जाते हैं जब गुरु सत्पुरुष जो है वो हमें समझाता है। हम उसके सुनने के बाद उस पर चलना शुरू कर देते हैं तो हम सब उसी के हवाले हो जाते हैं और वो सारे काम हमारे करता है। दुष्ट दूत परमेश्वर मारे, जन की पैज रखे करतारे। जन की पैज, जो हमारी इज्जत है वो गुरु खुद रखता है। हमारे को जोर लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है, उसके हवाले होना है हमको। इसलिए वो सारी दया में
Vinaya, it's time to translate.
हाँ, अब जरा वो
Okay,
ट्रांसलेट
okay.
That has been forever. You have to
Ji.
translate
Ji, Mohanji.
every 2 minutes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh no, okay, sorry. So today Mohanji is going to explain us a Shabad from Gurbani. So he explained the Shabad. Dr. Chand, can you please put yourself on mute? Thank you so much. So he says, "O Guru's disciple." So I'm telling you the meaning of the Shabad, which Mohanji explained to us. He said, "O Guru's disciple, sit quietly inside your house." So here, sit quietly inside your house means your physical body, like inside your third eye center. Sit quietly inside your house. When you sit into meditation, you should be focused on the 5 words. You should be focused on the bhajan and simran, and you should not concentrate on anything else. The house is inside you, and Guru's children, if you want to see him, then focus inside. He will take care of your work. So sit inside and go up, and you will receive the prasad. No work is yours. All work is done by the Guru. So if you meditate and you do Simran Bhajan, your work will be done by the Guru himself. He will take care of your physical responsibilities. He will take care of everything. So the bad boys, the 5 boys which are inside us, anger and the rest of the boys, sorry, they pull us into the physical world. So by Guru's grace and love, Guru helps us to beat these boys. And when these 5 boys are beaten up, the Guru comes, the Guru appears. So the person who gets lost inside and focuses inside, Guru does all his physical responsibilities. So our job is to surrender to the Guru. If we don't surrender to the Guru, we will be lost in the physical world. We will not progress spiritually at all. All the kings, all the Bashas of the world surrender to the Guru, and Guru pulls them. And when you meditate, you concentrate, you listen to him, you follow him, he takes care of the outside responsibilities, he takes care of the physical responsibilities. That's what he has said up until now. Now we'll continue. Ji Mohan ji, aap kahiye.
अब आप बोले जी मोहन जी, आप बोले, अब आप फर्दर सारा समझा दिया।
बैसो हर जन प्यारे, सतगुरु तुमरे काज सवारे, दुष्ट दूत परमेश्वर मारे, जन की पैज रखी करतारे, बादशाह शाह सब बस कर लेने, अमृत नाम महारस पीने, अमृत नाम महारस पीने, निर्भय होए, निर्भय, कोई तुमको उसमें मुश्किल नहीं दिखाई देती है, निर्भय हो, जब घबराहट नहीं, निर्भय होए, भजो भगवाना, तुम उसको उसकी याद करने के लिए बैठे हो तो तुम्हें किसी चीज का फिक्र नहीं होना चाहिए, सिर्फ आपका ध्यान उस स्थान पे लगाना चाहिए जहां पर तो गुरु वहां प्रकट हो जाएगा और आपके साथ सारी बातें भी करेगा, आपको लेकर भी चलेगा। तो इसलिए ये कहते हैं, फिर घर बैसो हर जन प्यारे, सतगुरु तुम्हारे काज सवारे, दुष्ट दूत परमेश्वर मारे, जन की पैज रखे करतारे, बादशाह शाह सब बस कर लेने, अमृत नाम महारस पीने, निर्भय होए भजो भगवाना, तुम किसी चीज का फिक्र नहीं करना और सब कुछ गुरु पे छोड़ करके उस भजन में लगो जहां पर उसने बताया है। निर्भय होए भजो भगवाना, साध संगत मिलकीनो दाना, साध संगत होती है जो सत्संग है, उसमें कुछ लोग भजन वाले भी होते हैं और वो भजन जब करते हैं तो उसका असर सब पर पड़ता है, इसलिए इस करके उनको, इसलिए उसका नाम उन्होंने ये रखा है, निर्भय होए भजो भगवाना, साध संगत मिलकीनो दाना, शरण पड़े प्रभ अंतर्यामी, नानक ओट पकड़ी प्रभ स्वामी, शरण पड़े प्रभ अंतर्यामी, नानक ओट पकड़ी प्रभ स्वामी। आप ये शरण का पकड़ना जो है, ये एक बहुत ही बड़ा कठिन बात है, लेकिन संत सतगुरु कहते हैं कि जैसे मैंने कहा बैठ जाओ और ध्यान लगा दो, तो ये सारे काम महाराज पर छोड़ दो, तुम अपना जोर मत लगाओ, तुम अपना जोर लगाओगे तो काम नहीं बनेगा, जब तुम गुरु पे छोड़ दोगे तो आपका सारा काम बन जाएगा, तब आगे फिर गुरु लेने आता है, गुरु सारे काम करता है। ये सारी बातें तब समझ आती हैं जब हम पूर्ण गुरु के कहने के हिसाब से हम उस रास्ते पे चल पड़ते हैं, तभी हमको इस चीज में तरक्की मिलती है और आगे हमारा भजन उस तरफ चल पड़ता है।
ठीक है, जब ये एक्सप्लेन कर दीजिए।
मोहन
हाँ
जी, जी,
विनायक जी आप एक्सप्लेन करें
जी। So he is saying, when you meditate, you should not have any other thoughts, any other you should not think about anything else about the physical world, about your responsibilities. You should be 100% focused inside. So when you are 100% focused inside, when you're focused and concentrated on your bhajan and your simran, Guru will come, he will talk to you and he will take you forward. He will you will make spiritual progress when you focus and concentrate inside. So you should not worry about anything physical while you are meditating. There are people who meditate and the effect also, so when in satsang there are kind of people who meditate, who do bhajan simran, and that effect also falls upon us. So we should be with the Sangat as well. And we should not worry about physical things. Usually we worry about physical things a lot. So we should leave them upon the Guru. And we will, when we will walk on that path, we will understand that how Guru takes care of everything and how he takes us forward. जी मोहन जी अभी बताइए आगे.
ओके ये तो शब्द पूरा हो
Sorry.
गया. ओके अच्छा मैं अभी आपको एक बताता हूँ, एक कहानी बताता हूँ. हम लोग सावन आश्रम में बैठे हुए थे. हम लोग सावन आश्रम में बैठे हुए थे. वहां पर संत कृपाल सिंह जी महाराज बैठे हुए थे और उनका जो फेस था वो अंदर की तरफ था और उनके आगे एक महामंडलेश्वर बैठा हुआ था. तो महाराज बता रहे थे, जो सारी बातें बता रहे थे. अभी इतना इसको आगे बोलते जाओ, ये लंबा हो जाएगा.
जी, so he is saying that he was sitting in the Savan ashram, and they were sitting in the Savan ashram, and Sant Kirpal Singh Ji was also sitting there. So he was faced towards the inside of the ashram. And जी मैं समझ नहीं पाई उनके सामने कौन बैठा था मोहन जी.
जब आप दोबारा से बताएं कि महाराज सावन
जी
आश्रम में बैठे थे.
डॉक्टर चांद माय इंटरनेट इज रियली स्लो. कैन यू हेल्प मी हियर?
मैं फिर
if he can
फिर से बता
जी,
दीजिए.
if he can translate it in English, if he tries to, अगर वो थोड़ा बहुत इंग्लिश में बता दे तो
I can
मुझे
translate.
आसानी हो जाएगी.
I can
जी
translate.
सुमित जी.
I can translate. That's fine.
Okay, please do
Okay,
that.
okay. Please do it. Please.
Yeah.
आप फिर से बताएं जी. जब आप सावन आश्रम में बैठे थे आप.
I'm sitting with the other satsangi, few satsangi, the special area, the living room, the महाराज जी का लिविंग रूम था, उसमें बैठे हुए थे और महाराज जी बात कर रहे थे. महाराज जी जो बात कर रहे थे वो महाराज जी के आगे जो बैठा हुआ था वो महामंडलेश्वर था और वो आया हुआ था, क्या नाम है, तो वहां से आया हुआ था. तो वो बात वो महाराज जी को मानता था, महाराज जी को जानता था. वो आगे बैठा था और उसके सामने कुछ लोग, हम लोग जो थे नीचे बैठे हुए थे, जो वो बिछा हुआ है कारपेट, उसके ऊपर हम बैठे हुए थे.
So Mohan ji,
अभी मैं फिर बताऊं.
Mohan ji
बोलो
saying,
बोलो.
Mohan ji saying
हाँ.
that
जी
okay, Maharaj ji was sitting in a Kripal Singh Maharaj ji was sitting in a Savan ashram, and all the people were sitting in the front of Maharaj ji, and Maharaj ji, there was a person which is called Mahamandaleshwar. Mahamandaleshwar are the person who are basically sadhus from Haridwar. He came and he also was sitting there. हाँ जी मोहन जी बोलिए आगे.
ओके. फिर क्या हुआ, हम लोग बैठे हुए थे, महाराज जी बता रहे थे उन लोगों को. तो बोलते बोलते महाराज जी ने मेरे को कहा, बाहर एक आदमी आ रहा है, उसको गेट पर मत रोकना. इतना मीते ने थोड़ा बोल.
Maharaj ji told Mohan ji, because all the people are sitting and Mohan ji was also sitting in front of Kripal Singh Maharaj ji, and Maharaj Kripal Singh said to Mohan ji that there is a person coming from outside, can you bring him inside?
Yeah.
हाँ जी मोहन जी.
ओके. तब मैं उठ करके भाग करके गया बाहर, जो गेट के ऊपर जो सेवादार खड़ा था उसको बोला, उसका नाम उसको बोला भाई इस भाई को मत रोकना, महाराज जी ने बुलाया है, चलो बोलो।
So Maharaj ji, so Mohan ji, when listened to Kripal Singh ji Maharaj that he's saying that the person is outside, he went outside and took that person inside, and he told to other people that this person is called by some Kripal Singh ji Maharaj, don't stop him. Hanji Mohan ji.
और मैं भाग कर गया, उस भाई को बोला भैया इनको महाराज जी ने बुलाया है, इनको आप नहीं रोकें। तो मैं उस भाई को साथ लेके आ गया और वो भाई महाराज जी के चरणों में बैठ गया, नीचे ऊपर महाराज जी बैठे बैठे। फिर उस भाई से बात करने के बाद, जो बात चल रही थी उसके बाद महाराज जी ने पूछा आप कैसे आए हो? तब उस भाई ने कहा महाराज जी मैं दर्शन करने के लिए आया हूँ। बोलो बोलो।
So Maharaj ji, so Mohan ji called, Mohan ji went outside and that person in front of Kripal Singh ji Maharaj. So he sat down in the front of Kripal Singh ji Maharaj. So Maharaj Kripal Singh ji said to that person, how are you and how you came here? Hanji Mohan ji आगे बोलिए। हाँ जी मोहन जी, मैंने ट्रांसलेट किया, आप आगे बताइए। हाँ जी
ठीक है। तो उस भाई से जब महाराज जी ने पूछा आप कैसे आए हो, तो उसने कहा महाराज जी मैं दर्शन करने के लिए आया हूँ। और फिर उसने अपनी कहानी सुनाना शुरू कर दी कि महाराज जी मैं बड़ा अफसर हो गया हूँ। आगे बोलते जाओ।
So Maharaj ji said how you came. So that person said to Maharaj ji, I came for your darshan and I want to tell you my story. And he said that I become a big officer now. He become an officer. हाँ जी बोलिए।
तब महाराज जी ने, जब उसने कहा कि महाराज जी दर्शन करने के लिए आया था, और फिर उसने एक बात शुरू करी कि महाराज जी जब मैं आपके दर्शनों के लिए आया हूँ, और एक दफा क्या हुआ, मेरे को मैं बड़ा अफसर हो गया हूँ। उसने ये बताया कि महाराज जी मैं अब बड़ा अफसर हो गया हूँ, मुझे 4 सर्वेंट मिले हुए हैं, नौकर मिले हुए हैं। एक मेरी गाड़ी चलाता है, एक मेरा खाना बनाता है, एक मेरा कपड़े धोने वाले जो होते हैं उनको कपड़ों को धोता है, एक मेरा जो चौथा है सर्वेंट वो मेरे गार्डन जो होती है, वहाँ जो कोठी मिली हुई है उस गार्डन की सारी देखभाल करता है। आगे बोलो।
हाँ जी, so he said to Maharaj ji, I become an officer and I got a big home also. Also I got a 4 servant. One servant is cooking my food. One servant is doing he's a driver, and then another servant is doing gardening, and one servant is doing laundry. हाँ जी आगे बोलिए।
4 सर्वेंट मिले हुए हैं, और एक मेरा खाना बनाता है, एक मेरा कपड़े धोता है, एक मेरा गाड़ी चलाता है, एक जो है मेरे गार्डन मिली हुई है, जो कोठी मिली हुई है गवर्नमेंट की, उसके बाहर जो है गार्डन वगैरह उसका गार्डन का काम करता है। बताओ।
So Maharaj ji said that he told to Maharaj ji, I become an officer and I got a big home from the government, and also I got 4 servants also from the government. One servant is doing laundry, one servant is cleaning, one servant is doing the gardening, one servant is doing the laundry, one servant is a driver, and one servant is basically cooking the food. हाँ जी मोहन जी आगे।
अच्छा, फिर उसने बताया
मैं एक वीडियो
कि महाराज जी, मैं एक दफा हमारा काम जो था वो नजदीक ही था, मैंने सोचा चलो पैदल ही चलता हूँ। वो नजदीक का मतलब ऐसा था, हमारे टाइम पर वो 1-2 मील जो होता था वो ऐसे लगता था जब थोड़ी दूरी है। तो वो फिर आदमी पैदल चल पड़ा और जहाँ पर काम चल रहा था उसके लेबर काम कर रही थी, तो वहाँ ले गया वो, वहाँ चला गया वो। मैं बोलो बोलो।
So he said that it was not very far. So he walked. There was a work going on. So he just walked up to that place. It was not very far where the labor was working. Hanji Mohanji.
हाँ, अब वो क्या हो गया कि जब वो वहाँ पहुंचा तो थोड़ी देर के बाद बहुत काला बादल आ गया और चारों तरफ अंधेरा हो गया और साथ ही बरसात शुरू हो गई। बता दो इतना।
So he went to that place without any car and he just walk away,
हाँ बेटा बता दो।
just walked that place. And when he went there, but immediately at that time, the rain started and a black cloud came and the rain started. Hanji Mohanji. बता दिया मैंने
आगे
आप।
बोले।
हाँ जी, आगे बोलो।
हाँ ठीक है,
हाँ,
बता दीजिए ना, आप आगे
अच्छा
बोले।
ठीक है। अब वो कहने लगा कि मैं घबरा गया हूँ बहुत, तो मुझे ये भी पता नहीं कि मैं कहाँ रहता हूँ। तो इतना घबरा गया वो कि उसको ये समझ नहीं आया कि मैंने कहाँ जाना है। तो फिर क्या हुआ कि एकदम उसके माथे से बहुत मोटी लाइट निकली और आगे चल पड़ी। बताओ
So he was
बताओ।
very disappointed. He was worried that now how can he go to home? And also in that stage, even he forget where is his home and how he can reach his place. At that time, when he was got worried, there is a big light started from his head and give that light gave him the direction.
ओके, आगे आगे लाइट चल पड़ी, मेरे माथे से जो लाइट निकली थी वो मेरे आगे चल पड़ी, मुझको लेकर के आगे चल पड़ी।
So they,
और मैं हाँ
हाँ
बोलो
जी, हाँ जी, हाँ जी, बोलिए बोलिए।
हाँ, और फिर मैं उस लाइट की वजह से आगे आगे लाइट चल रही है, मैं पीछे पीछे उसके चल रहा हूँ और चल करके मैं कोठी अपनी पहुंच गया। मुझे वो लाइट कोठी में ले आई जो मेरे पास, जो मेरे लिए कोठी मिली हुई थी। बोलो।
So Mohanji is saying that the light, so his light, when he was worried, the light started from his forehead, and that light was giving him the direction. Light was moving forward, and he was just chasing the light, and the light gave him the direction up to the home. And when he reached, and he easily reached the home where his home who was given by the government. Hanji Mohanji.
ओके, फिर वो लाइट जो थी वो लेके उसकी कोठी आ गई। जब वो कोठी आ गया तो उसको उसको वो सारा मालूम हो गया कि सारे रास्ते मुझे लाइट लेके आई थी। लाइट मेरे माथे से निकल रही थी, बाहर से नहीं, अंदर से लाइट निकल रही थी। तो रास्ता मुझे दिखा रही थी वो, मैं उस लाइट को पीछे पीछे चल रहा था और मैं कोठी पहुंच गया। बस दिखाओ, बोलो।
So when he reached home, then he realized that the light coming from inside, light was not from outside, the light coming from his head, and that light gave him the direction so he can reach safely at home. And that light was not outside light, it was the inner light. Hanji Mohanji.
हाँ ठीक है। और ये जो चीजें हैं, ये सतगुरु का जो शिष्य होता है उसको सतगुरु आगे रास्ता बताता है, दिखाता है, लेके चलता है। अगर कोई मुश्किल आती है तो गुरु प्रकट हो जाता है, लाइट प्रकट हो जाती है, तो उसे उस जगह ले आते हैं जहाँ उसका घर है या जहाँ रहने की जगह है, वहाँ खुद ले आते हैं। चलो बस इतना ही है।
So
बोलो।
that master is, when we are initiated by a perfect master. So master is taking care of us when we are in any problem. At that time, master comes at that moment immediately. He guide us so that we can reach our home safely. Even master at that time came in the light form to so that he can reach safely. So this
It
is a
is
real.
it is.
हैं?
Yeah, Mohanji could explain this, that how really the master takes care of his disciples and how that light appears and guides a person who was forgetting his home, and something within is guiding the person. So this is a miracle practically, which he was trying to explain. Please. तो आपको कुछ और बताना है?
नहीं, और फिर बस खत्म हो गया ना, वो घर आ गया वो।
हाँ, ठीक है,
उसको ले आए महाराज जी, उसको वो लाइट घर ले आए,
ठीक है,
फिर काम खत्म हो गया।
ठीक है जी. He was just explaining this phenomena which he could see from his own eyes, that how that man was saying that that light brought him home.
He explaining to Maharaj is all the things.
So this is how he explained his things, to the master, to all of them. So और तो नहीं बोलना आपने? सत्संग खत्म है कि कुछ और भी?
खत्म हो।
Today he will speak only this much, and Michael, this is what he wants to do today only. No more.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you very much.
it was so nice to have you, Mohanji. It's a treasure to have you. For everybody, just we appreciate and we thank Master, we thank God for sending us souls like Mohanji who have served the saints and the Masters all their life, from Baba Sawant Singh to Sant Kirpal to Sant Darshan to Sant Rajinder to Chand's mom. And all his life he has been in the service of the saints. To have somebody like this among us is like having Master, because their inner self has become the Master. And it is to have the darshan of Mohanji is to have the darshan of Sant Kirpal, to have the darshan of all the saints and masters. We are very grateful to God to send us such wonderful his souls, his lovers, his true lovers, the true lovers of the Lord like Mohanji. They inspire us. They inspire us to continue on our journey of love and to become one with God, one with Master. Thank you so much, Mohanji. We really, really love you. We really appreciate you. To be in your vibration, is something very, very cannot be described. Thank you so much. And now I welcome our dear sister Sumit. She will continue the satsang.
Thank you. Dear brothers and sisters.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you all, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Dear brothers and sisters, good morning, good evening, namaste, Radha Swami. Topic of today's talk is receptivity. This talk is dedicated to my master, Sant Rajinder Singh Ji Maharaj. I want to remember today Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj. Today is the Barsi Bhandara of gracious Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj. He left this physical plane on 30th May 1989. He was also a great mystic saint. He wrote a lot of poems and ghazal. He was very loving saint. So today's topic is receptivity. So receptivity is the ability to absorb something or having knowledge within. The word receptivity is made from the word container. Container means a vessel. When we put anything in the vessel, it takes its shape that it fits into completely. In the same way, the quality of receptivity is that what you are, I too should become the same. The quality which is in you, the same quality should also come in me. That is, the disciple should be such that he is painted in the color of his master. So there is no difference between the guru and the disciple. So whatever is the color of Guru, the same color should be also of the disciple. Someone has said, ये मेरी अर्जी है, मैं वो हो जाऊं जो तेरी मर्जी है. So this is my prayer. I should become what you wish me to be. Receptivity is very important quality on the path of spirituality. Saints proclaim that spiritual experience can neither be bought nor taught. This is the prasad which is received by Guru's grace to any worthy or deserving disciple. If the person is fully receptive, then his life may change. This quality is called eligibility or receptivity. So to become a receptive, it is very important that we empty ourselves from inside. Until we are completely empty in thoughts, words, action, and by living our lives according to what the Sadguru says, then we are aiming for our life, that is reconciliation of our soul with God. There is a verse from Tulsi Sahib, दिल का हुजरा साफ कर जाना के आने के लिए, ध्यान गैरों का उठा उसके बिठाने के लिए. It means that if we want that our beloved, our master or God may come and reside in our innermost chamber of our heart, then we will have to purify innermost chamber of our heart, that is our soul. We need to detach our attention from everything other than our master or God, so that he may come and reside within us. Saint Mahatma says, just as no color is attained on the black clothes, so long as we are filled with the lust, anger, greed, fascination, ego, and illusion of this world, till then the color of the love of God will not be experienced. In old time, saints used to purify the soul of the disciple with selfless service before they initiated the disciple. So there is a real story of King Balakh Bukhara. Ibrahim Adam, the king of Bukhara, was very fond of the spiritual way of life and was always seeking the company of sage and saints. However, he lived in such a luxury that he slept in a bed that had flowers laid on it all the time. One day, when he was going to his bed, he heard a noise on his palace roof, and he went on the roof and he found that two men roaming about on the roof. He asked them sharply, "What are you doing here?" "Sir, we are camel driver and are searching for our lost camels." They replied. Amazed at their stupidity, the king said scornfully, "How could you ever expect to find camels on the top of the palace? In the same way that you are trying to realize God in your bed of flowers," was the reply. So this greatly shocked the king and completely changed his way of life. He abandoned his throne and started to see much more of the saints and the sages in his own kingdom, but without satisfaction. Therefore, he went to India, and after making a thorough search, was still unsuccessful until he reached Kashi, Banaras. There he heard of Kabir Sahib, the wayward saint. He asked Kabir Sahib to accept about him as his disciple. So Kabir Sahib said, "There is nothing in common between a king and a poor weaver like me, and two such different people could hardly get on together." But the king pleaded with saying, "I didn't come to your door as a king, but as a beggar again. I beg of you to kindly give me the boon for which I am seeking." Mata Loi, the wife of Kabir Sahib, also asked her husband to accept him, and the saint gave in her. So saint accepted it. So king was living in weaver's house. So in weaver's house, the only work that can be done by a king was of that of manuals, cleaning the woof and the warp, and washing the yarn and the thread. So 6 years passed by, and the king did this work without a murmur throughout these years. One day, Mata Loi entreated Kabir Sahib, saying, "The king has now been with us for 6 long years. He has been eating what we offered him, and has been doing what we have offered him to do without uttering a word of complaint. Because of all this, he appeared to highly deserve. Kabir Sahab told his wife, as far as I can see, the king's soul is not purified. Kabir Sahab told his wife, as far as I can see, the king's soul is not purified and ready for Naam. Mata Loi again entreated and reminded Kabir Sahab that what the king had done was tremendous service to them, that she could not even for a moment believe that he was not serving for initiation. Kabir Sahab replied, the best way to prove it to yourself is to what I ask you to do, and thereafter come and tell me what you heard from his mouth. Please go on the top of the roof, and as soon as the king comes into the street, throw the entire sweeping of the house upon his head. Mata Loi did as she was asked, and as sweeping fell on the head of the king of Bukhara, he looked up and sighed. If only this were Bukhara, you would not have dared do this to me. Mata Loi returned to Kabir Sahab and repeated what the king had said. Didn't I tell you that king was not yet fully deserving of the great gift of Naam? Kabir Sahab said. So another 6 years passed away. So another 6 years passed by, during which the king worked as hard as he had during the first 6 years. One day, Kabir Sahab said to his wife, vessel is now completely ready to receive the nectar. Mata Loi told him, I do not find any difference between the condition of the king 6 years ago and now. He has been ever dutiful and willing and has never uttered a word of complaint. Even on the days when we had a large number of sadhus in the home and there was nothing left for us to eat, Kabir Sahab told her, if you want to see the difference, you may again throw the refuse and rubbish swept up from the house on the king's head. The next day, when the king was passing the house, she did exactly as she was asked. On receiving the gift, the king looked up and said, may you, the doer of this, live long. The mind was still full of ego and self. It had to be treated this way. So again, Mata Loi related to king's word to her husband. This time, Kabir Sahab told her, king now deserved the great treasure of initiation. And Kabir Sahab then gazed the king, gave him Naam. The king's soul swiftly ascended, traversed the upper realms, and ultimately merged in the Supreme Being. So Sandarshan Singh Ji has said, जज्बाए दिल को अमल में कभी लाओ तो सही, अपनी मंजिल की तरफ पांव बढ़ाओ तो सही. Sandarshan Singh Ji Maharaj is saying, we have to practically implement the emotion of our heart and to take foot forward to our true destination. What happens often is that many times when we listen to satsang, from some time we feel the truth and understand how we should spend our life. But when we go home, we forget everything that we heard in the satsang. That is why Maharaji says that we have to work hard and earnestly on the path of attainment of God. If we stop in the middle, then we will never be able to achieve our goal, which is attainment of God. This is possible only if we have the power to adopt everything. The true disciple surrender himself in the front of the Guru, and his every state of mind to his master is like an empty vessel. And Guru graciously settled Lord love into the life of that inquisitive disciple. So there is a beautiful story. Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj was once narrating the story of So one time the Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj in his satsang was narrating the story of Maharishi Valmiki and was telling how through his hard work and dedication, Valmiki became a sage from a bandit. In the same satsang of Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj, there was a person sitting in the first row who was actually the captain of decades and was listening carefully to the satsang of Maharaji. As soon as the satsang was over, he asked Maharaji, is there really any hope for a robber to change? Maharaji lovingly replied to him, Absolutely, why not? The satsang of Maharaji had such an effect on him that the very next day he expressed his desire for initiation, and he received Naam from Maharaji. Gradually, due to his hard work, his dedication, and receptivity, he did not only become a good person himself, but he also inspired many more bandits and got his name changed, and his life also changed. So if the person has a desire of the truth, and if he gets the right direction, then he can change his life. Maharaji used to give the example of a horse, that the way a powerful and uncontrolled horse keep running here and there, but when he gets the direction, he gets to his destination as soon as possible. Similarly, if a person is firm in tune and possesses the quality of the receptivity, he too can get to his destination as soon as possible by progressing on the path of spirituality through hard work. Christ once gave an example to his disciples, saying that the branches associated with the grape tree would give fruit, and those branches it cut from it would cease to bear fruit. So Christ said that I am a grape tree and you are all my branches. As long as you stay connected with me, you will remain receptive. You will continue to bear fruits. Maharaji also used to say in his satsang that when we go to the feet of Sadguru to develop love and devotion towards him, and for purification of our soul, then all our attention, devotion, love should be focused only toward the Guru. Our mind should not be wandering here and there. Evil or condemnation of each other should not be there. Otherwise, even after being physically close to Sadguru, we will not be with us. He will not be with us. So there is a beautiful story which explains the receptivity of a true disciple. In South India, there was a saint by name Kanak Das. He was a goat's grazer and a devotee too. His master gave him one banana after Ekadashi in order to break his fast next day. Master also put a condition on when to eat the banana. The condition was you have to eat the banana when nobody is watching you. Master gave banana to all other disciples. The next day, all disciples came and narrated their experience to Gurudev. One said, I woke up at 12 a.m. midnight and ate banana, hiding under the blanket in darkness. Other disciple said, I jumped into the river with the banana and ate it underneath so nobody saw me. Third one said, I myself didn't see because I blindfolded myself. Likewise, everyone told their own story. Lastly, Kanak Das came holding the banana that the master had given him to eat. The master questioned, why did you not eat? What was the problem? He replied, how can I eat? Wherever I looked, I found your presence there. You were observing me every moment. The moment I used to pick up the banana, I could sense your presence around. So I was not able to eat. I brought the banana back. I will not able to grab it. So this is the true receptivity, that we should see our master everywhere. Sant Rajendra Singh Ji Maharaj always say in his satsang, when we are in a physical presence of our master, we must focus our attention on his eyes, because 2/3 of the spirituality comes from eyes of the master. When we are in a satsang, we should be lost so much in the loving glance of our master, that we should never be aware who else present in the satsang, who is sitting with us. We should not know that. So there is a beautiful story from the scriptures. Then when Lord Krishna went to Vidur's home, his wife was lost in the eyes of the Lord Krishna, that she was throwing banana and was offering the peel of the banana to Lord Krishna. Krishna was also eating the peel of the banana when Vidur interrupted and offered banana. Then Shri Krishna said, peel is more sweeter than the real banana. So this is the love of the disciple. So receptivity is a scientific definition that accurately determines how we experience spiritual bliss. Competence in the physical world is called receptivity. Just like the television signals come from television station, radio from the radio station, the clarity of picture or sound depends on how the instrument is properly tuned or connected to the transmission station. So our eligibility in the field of spirituality is our ability to get light and sound emanating from the divine source, from our master. In this, our Sadguru transmit these waves to us so that our soul can connect it to the divine. Our task is only to stop whatever become a barrier between light and sound of the God. Whenever we are in the presence of our Sadguru, we get an opportunity to fully receive spiritual rays coming from the master to us. The more receptive we are to this broadcast, the more we enjoy the visual experience of light and sound within. Most of us think that if we sit in the front rows in the satsang, we will get more attention or grace of the Guru, but it's never the case. Master's rays are going behind also. It's everywhere. Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj always used to sit in the last row in the satsang, but his complete attention was in the loving eyes of his master, and Baba Sawan Singh Ji's maximum attention used to be on him. Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj used to say that he got blissed and intoxication when he even saw Hazur Baba Sawan Singh Ji Maharaj turban from a distance. Bibi Lajo, who was serving Baba Sawan Singh Ji Maharaj, she used to narrate that story. Sometime when Sant Kripal Singh Ji came to meet Hazur, I used to say him in laughter, Baba Ji, if I let you go up to meet Hazur, you will be there for too long. Sorry, today we will not let you in. At this, he would return quietly. Then I would call him and say, I was just joking. Please go up. You are always welcome here. He was very gentle and didn't even had bit of ego. Once on a beautiful moonlight, Babaji was with Hazur till midnight. I was there too. On coming down, suddenly Kripal Singh Ji wanted to go up again to see Babaji, to Hazur. Bibi Ji, he said, Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj beautifully said, Bibi Ji, what a wonderful sight that was. Did you see? He said, how bright was Hazur's face, shining more than the moon. How beautiful Hazur looked tonight. So that's the Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj's receptivity for his master. Someone once asked Sandarshan Singh Ji Maharaj that even if a person is not receptive, can he still obtain any benefit? To this, Maharaji replied, the benefit obtained in such a case is same as that of child who is sleeping and is unaware of what his mother has done for him. Yet he gets full benefit. Unseen and silently, the divine stream coming out of Sadguru washes away the layers of impurity that surround our soul. We don't see any changes in ourselves immediately, but after a long time, we become a better person because we slowly become pure. We can think how much we could have benefited if we had been receptive. In such time, we should not worry about our problems. At that time, when we are in the presence of Sadguru, let us calm our mind, allow the spiritual flows to enter within us. Thus, in the crowd of thousands, we can take advantage of being close to Sadguru and experience an ever-increasing consciousness and bliss. If it seems that Sadguru is not seeing us anymore, a receptive person can still feel the grace of Sadguru falling on him and can progress spiritually. Just as mercury of thermometer measure the heat present in the environment, similarly, the measure of our purity reflects our spiritual progress. The more we are receptive, the sooner our spiritual progress will be. People feel that receptivity is only the result of grace, and we have nothing to do in this field. Thinking like that is an illusion, a mistake. Mercy and grace is always present, but effort is also necessary. Efforts are necessary in such a way that we remove the obstacle that hinders our receptivity. Whenever we are in front of our Sadguru, there is a chance that we can increase our receptivity and fully open the gateway of our spiritual realms. The company of Saint Sadguru gives us many experience which can only happen if we begin to see and hear his word, and by one whose goal is to meditate in higher spiritual realm. We stay with our Sadguru for hours only to see him with our outward eyes, and sometimes we visit him in a spiritual realms within a short span of seconds. Much of what happened in these meetings depend on our receptivity. So if we are not properly receptive, then we'll not able to understand the words of the Guru that we hear or read. If we listen to his word with one ear and out of the other ear, as a result, we will neither be able to understand the Guru's teaching or will not able to soak it inside. Due to the lack of proper receptivity, we cannot get the full benefit of Guru's teaching. That is why physical closeness with own Sadguru is not enough. It is very important to have receptivity in us to get the full mercy and grace of the Master. Saint says, to put it simply, in order to fully take advantage of the grace of Sadguru, we need to be open and receptive to Guru's teaching like an innocent child. Just as no person can collect water by putting vessel upside down in the torrential rain. Only when the vessel is straight, it can be filled with water. Similarly, sunlight cannot be expected in the room if all windows and doors are closed. Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj used to say that the same dose affects us which is digested in comparison to the one which is not digested. It only causes indigestion and damage. So effect of satsang is also similar. When we take satsang discourses like a good and receptive disciple, our attitude towards life change and we start living our life according to what Sadguru says. Maharaj Kripal Singh Ji used to give a beautiful example in the satsang. He said, when the cow is fed with the bait, she swallows all the bait in a short time and later, after sitting comfortably in one place, chews it bit by bit and gulps in her body and return gives her life-giving milk. Similarly, after listening to the discourse in the satsang, follow the path given by Guru. We have to fill his teaching inside ourselves and we mold our life according to Guru's word. We will be filled with love of God. To say that being receptive doesn't mean that we should go to satsang, listen to satsang and come back in same snares. Being receptive means we become a good disciple who always obeys what his Sadguru says and bring his teaching into our life. So there is a beautiful story. One couple used to go to satsang every day. They kept a parrot in the cage at his house. One day, the parrot asked to man, Seth Ji, where do you go every day? Seth Ji is the name to the man. So Seth Ji said, he goes to listen satsang every day. Parrot said, Seth Ji, ask Saint or Mahatma when I will be free from this cage. After the satsang was over, Seth Ji asked Saint, that parrot at our home has requested me to ask from you that when he will be free from the cage. The Saint fell unconsciousness on hearing this. Seeing the condition of Saint went silent from there. On coming home, the parrot asked Seth Ji, what did Saint say about my freedom? Seth Ji started abusing him and said, you have a bad luck. On hearing your question, Saint Ji fell unconsciously. The parrot said, no problem, Seth Ji, I understood everything. The next day, when Seth Ji was about to go to satsang, the parrot fell into the cage deliberately and fainted. As soon as Seth Ji assumed him dead and took him out of the cage, he flew away from the cage. As soon as he went to the satsang, Saint Ji asked him that the parrot you were asking about yesterday, where is he now? Seth Ji told him that he fainted deliberately this morning and when I took the parrot out of cage, he flew away. Then Saint Ji explained to Seth, look, you have been coming to satsang from so long. You are listening but till today you are stuck in the cage of worldly fascination. Look at that parrot. Without coming to satsang, he understood the hint and got free today. So this is called true receptivity. It means that when we go to satsang, listen to the knowledge of truth, but mind is always entangled in worldly love. Even in satsang, we like only those things in which our selfishness is proved. Wherever by going to the satsang, we should accept the truth and give the importance to all the things and untruth, falsehood, and ego, which we are holding. We must take them off with courage and accept the truth. We often think that the disciple is very fortunate who have a greater chance of being with the Sadguru. But the spiritual benefit that disciple actually receive from the Guru cannot be seen and tested externally. In fact, those disciples are fortunate to have received the full grace of Sadguru, who are receptive and who live life according to the commandment of their Sadguru, and have themselves become the path of Guru's heart to heart connection, to heart connection. And such a disciple, by grace of his master, can achieve greater heights within a moment. So in this context, there is a beautiful story of Sandarshan Singh Ji Maharaj. So Sandarshan Singh Ji Maharaj narrate a parable of his life. So let's listen his experience in his own words. So he was saying, I went to Dera Byas for 3 to 4 weeks around the summer holidays to visit Baba Sawan Singh Ji Maharaj and take advantage of the satsang. On the last day, when satsang was over, I reached Gurudev to take a permission to go back to home. I saw that he was very busy. I tried hard to make an eye contact with him, but I could not get any glance from him. His eyesight was everywhere, but not at the place where I sat. I changed the place where I sat many times, but I could not get glance from Hazur. When Hazur finally finished his work, after looking at me, he said, what is the need to return now? There are still holidays left. I said, Bauji has ordered to come back today. Sandarshan Singh Ji Maharaj used to call Bauji to his father, Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj. So Baba Sawan Singh Ji Maharaj, when listened this, he lovingly laid his hand on my head and said, well, son, go then. My heart was submerged in a deep despair. Hazur was upstairs and I was coming down. Hazur was upstairs, I was sitting down and I was coming down of the stairs. Hazur turned up on the stairs and looked at me. So one glance, my eyes turned to him for a moment. Where did that one glance reach me? When I came out of the Dera Byas, I experienced Hazur's spiritual form, Hazur's radiant form, walking with me all the time. Even when I went to get a ticket at the railway station, Hazur was with me. Hazur was still with me when I reached home, the Lahore. Even when I read the book, Hazur was in the front of my eyes. He was sitting on the books. The condition asked for several days. The sound current resonated so fast that it became difficult to talk to the people. So this is the true receptivity. So one glance of the master. So what I mean to say is that how much part of the grace of Guru was able, as we are able to take, depend on how much ability we have in us to take his grace. If we get a chance to be present at the holy feet of our Sadguru, we should sit at his feet with full concentration, body and heart. May we become so absorbed in his vision that our entire body become one eye. We should be lost in hearing that nectar. We should be lost in hearing their nectar, that our body become one ear. If all our attention become a bridge between Sadguru and us, eye to eye, heart to heart, ear to ear, soul to soul, then we will become truly receptive. We will not be aware of ourselves. On the contrary, if at all time we feel the presence of other, when we keep the listening the words of other, then even we spend our whole life at the feet of Sadguru, be in his presence at all time, yet we will not stay away from him spiritually. we will not able to take advantage of the grace emanating from his holy body. So there are some people who don't go away from the Sadguru alone. They take Sadguru is in their eyes, in their heart, and in their soul. For such respective people, a poet has said, तेरी महफिले नाज से उठने वाले, तेरी महफिले नाज से उठने वाले, निगाहों में तुझको लिए जा रहे हैं, निगाहों में तुझको लिए जा रहे हैं. Sandarshan Singh Ji Maharaj happily present in one of his verses about receptivity. शर्त दिल से दिल मिले और जान से जान मिले, अक्सर मिले वो राह में लेकिन कहाँ मिले. Maharaj Ji states that to be receptive means to surrender yourself completely to your guru and always follow the path as instructed by him. Accept the grace that is coming from the guru, become a good disciple, and achieve the right goal of your life as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Sumit, that was amazing satsang. Very, very enlightening satsang. Thank you so much. I enjoyed every word, and the story of the parrot and the story of Sandarshan. And it's so blessed to have such an international satsang like this, where we get the lovers of God from all the masters, and we get their experiences, and we get all this godly knowledge every day. It's so wonderful. Thank you, Master, for all the blessings you give on us. And we also have today two people from China, Luna and Jenny. Welcome. So happy to see you in satsang. It's a big blessing. So now we can do 2 minutes of meditation, and I will play our Holy Father Ishwar Puriji.
So second and last day of our holiday party. We'll have more songs. When I talk of songs and music, it involves something called listening. Listening is the greatest gift given to human beings. It's the most important faculty we have, to listen. The whole of the spiritual revelations, all the enlightenment can be discovered by listening. Listen to yourself and you'll find everything. Listening is so important. Somebody told me when I was a child, God has given you 2 ears and 1 tongue. At least hear twice what you speak. I haven't followed his advice too much, I guess. Also, they say that one who knows says not, and one who says knows not. So that qualifies me for not knowing. There's an Indian saint named Bhika. Bhika said, I'll translate for you. Bhika said, Bhika baat agam ki kehen sunan mein nahi. जो जाने सो कहे ना, जो कहे सो जाने nahi. That what is known, the unknown, cannot be described. Therefore, somebody is describing it, he doesn't know it. And one who knows cannot describe it. So therefore, talking is not the way to find out the truth. Listening is the way. We listen to the sound of our own self, as I mentioned, and we can discover everything about ourselves. Even when we do what we call repetition of words, which involves speaking with the mind, we do not take advantage of the speaking of the mind with the mind of any mantra, any simran, unless we listen to what we are repeating. Listening to what we are repeating is more important than repeating. So listening has been given a very big importance in spiritual literature, but it's also important in the world. I find that people in distress, you just sit with them and listen to them, their distress goes away. If you speak too much to them, they remain in distress. Listening is so important. I'll tell you a very big incident that happened in this country, United States. Abraham Lincoln was the president, and he had one of the most difficult decisions to make, whether to enter into civil war. The Confederate Army and the Union were all waiting to fight, and he could not decide. All his advisors, he thought, were yes men. They kept on saying, yes, President, yes, sir, yes, sir. He didn't want that. He wanted real advice. So he had a childhood friend, I think his name was Brown, something like that. He said, send for Brown. This is Brown's biography and his autobiography that he's mentioned this incident. He says, I reached on the invitation of the president at the White House at midnight. And the president was pacing up and down the hall, not being able to decide whether I should fight my own people, whether we should have a war with our own people, kill our own people in a civil war. Very big decision to make. And when Brown arrived there, he said, thank God, Brown, you have come. You are my childhood friend. You are the one who can give me the best advice. And then the president paced up and down and Brown walked along with him. And the president explained everything, the position of the Confederate forces, the position of the Union, how they could fight, how many casualties can take place, whether it's worthwhile or not. This is an important thing from the point of principle. And he spoke for more than an hour and a half, pacing up and down. Brown had not said a single word. And the president said, thank you, Brown, for giving me good advice, and took a decision. The friend spoke nothing, but the president got the decision just because the friend listened to him. You have to remember how important listening is. Listening establishes a contact with the other person which nothing else can establish. But we like to speak a lot. When we speak, we create a barrier. How is that? When we speak, how do we create a barrier with a friend? We get a barrier because friend is thinking of something different from what we are speaking. So we are creating something like darkness, for example. Now, this is just a coincidence. The veil of darkness that comes between friends is more because of speaking than of listening. If you listened more, the friendship will be stronger. So why I'm bringing up this point is because the tendency to speak is very strong in us. If we can learn how to listen, we can not only apply that principle in dealing with people, dealing with friends. It's a very, very important quality we have. It will be very important in spiritual development of your own self, in realizing your own self. Listen to the self. We start by listening to thoughts. Can we convert the thoughts that we listen to from association with things outside to association with things inside? Even if the things inside are totally imaginary and fantasy. Supposing you make a fantastic program for yourself. I am going to do all that stuff which can never happen. according to your mind. Especially for young people, I'm telling. You make a fantastic vision of your own and say, I am going to achieve all that. The mind says, how can you do it? No, don't listen to the negative side of the mind. Listen to what you are imagining. Do you know what will happen? Write it down today if you like. You will achieve what you are fantasizing. It's so important. And people don't know the reason for it. They say, that means, can we fulfill any wishes of ours? I said, yes, you can. If you can stop the mind from saying it can't happen. When the mind says, no, how can that happen? It doesn't happen. It's that simple. If you don't listen to the mind, listen to what you are saying internally. Then what's the difference between the mind saying and your saying? Are there two entities sitting inside your head? No, the speech is always mind. We can't use any other instrument to speak except our mind. But we are using the mind to say something where we are using a faculty called imagination. A faculty that comes from the astral plane and doesn't exist in the physical plane. Every time we imagine something, we are imagining from there. The beauty is, if you want to imagine like that and not listen to the mind, you are imagining that which is already there. Not something that you're imagining should happen. It is already there. That's why you're imagining that. It's a very great thing. People have said this in so many different ways. The book on secret says there's a law of attraction. Whatever you can imagine inside and think it is there, it will be there. That's because what you imagine is there is there. That's the truth. Since we do not know that everything is already predetermined, we can't see our free will, our experience of free will denies that. Our experience of free will says, I can decide what to do. Okay, you say this will happen. No, it will not happen. Even these words that we just spoke were also pre-written. So since even the counter arguments are already pre-written, it looks like we have real free will. There is no real free will. It's an experience of free will. It's just an experience of free will by blocking from us the knowledge of the future. It's ignorance is bliss right here, because ignorance of the future is creating the reality of free will. If we knew what the future is, there will be no free will. That is why when we go to the astral and causal planes where we can see the future, free will disappears. And we suddenly discover that what we are thinking is predetermined, is pre-packaged. And that is why we do not make any high progress there, because we cannot have the experience of seeking, which is designed for happening only at the physical plane in a human life. So it's a very interesting setup. You go in and you can see the setup. Causal plane is the plane from where you see the setup, how it is set up. So the importance of using something other than your mind, the thinking mind, that appears to draw your attention always outside. No matter if you look at your thoughts, during some exercises in meditation workshops, I ask people, watch your thoughts. That means you don't think, sit quietly and watch your thoughts. Thoughts will always be there. You don't have to generate them specially. You never stop having thoughts. You never stop thinking. Nobody's ever stopped thinking. It's a complete misnomer to say, be still and not think. I haven't met any person in the world, not even a Swami or yogi, who could say, I can stop thinking. I've tested it out. Thinking is an automatic machine. Supposing one stops thinking, one will be dead. The mind will be dead, and so will you be dead, and the astral self dead. Thinking is like the heartbeat of the mind. What we do is that we forget what we think, and we think it's become still. That's not the stillness of the mind. If just not being aware of your thoughts could give you enlightenment, every time you take anesthesia from a doctor, you should be enlightened. Because you don't know what your thought. You certainly feel nothing, there was no thought at all. thoughts were going on. If you have a regression from there, you'll find during anesthesia, they can bring up all the thoughts you had. Just because you forget, this fading out system that is there installed in us does not mean that we never remember our dreams. And every person dreams every night several times. They've tested it out in the dream center that I have studied in. So people say, we never dream. And you can put the electrodes and the cameras on them at night and record everything, and then wake them up in the middle of the night and ask them, what were you dreaming? They'll tell you their dream. From the rapid eye movement, you can study what they're dreaming. And then when they wake up in the morning, did you have any dream? No, I never dreamed. Then you play their own tapes. They don't even remember that they said at night that they would, what the dream was. So this is a fading out system that's installed in us, and it's installed for a very particular reason. The reason is that when we are in one reality, that should hold as a reality. This physical experience we are having is being held as a reality by the simple fact we do not remember the dreams, we don't remember the higher levels of awareness, we don't remember our true home. It's not something that is somewhere else. We are in our true home. Why don't we know it? Because we don't remember. We are at the astral plane using our sense perceptions now from there. Why don't we know it? We don't remember. This erasing of memory is built in. Supposing we can remember all that, this will not look real. This world will not look real at all. Because then we'll see so many realities. And we say, which one is real, which one is not? So that is why it's blocked, that at one time you can only experience one reality. It's a good device to create reality. Supposing there were more than one reality, you will not be sure what is real at all. But blocking you to one level of experience as a reality ensures that you feel it is real. So that is why the physical reality is real. So we can't remember. People have higher experiences in meditation. As soon as they come out, it fades like dreams. Then they begin to say, we are not sure if it was a real experience or we were just dreaming. Even real experiences of higher levels, people have had causal experiences. They have had experience of the generation of the world. Then they get up here. This reality comes. They have a very strange dream we had. They call it all dream-like, just because the memory erases that experience very rapidly. They say that most of these experiences, other than the experience of physical, are generally erased in 30 seconds of waking up or coming out of meditation. We can't remember. A friend of mine who was a good meditator, he said, can we see a little bit of the future at the astral plane, in the inner body that you speak of? I said, yes, you can. Can we see the lottery number that's coming up tomorrow? If I really meditate, can I see the whole number there? I said, sure you can. So he meditated very hard. And he saw all the 6 digits of the next morning's lottery number. He was so happy, he screamed and woke up. And he couldn't remember the 6 numbers. Next day, lottery came, and he saw 3 numbers were right. But when he saw the remaining 3, he said, these were the very 3, but he could not remember. This is what happened. This is not something of a drawback. This is a device placed in consciousness to create reality. Otherwise, nothing is real. Let me tell you, if the definition of reality is that which is permanent forever, nothing is real at all. Everything is bound by the laws of experience at that stage. The only thing real is the experiencer of the experience. The experiencer, the self, is real. Nothing else is real. They're all created by the self. So if you want to find reality, the only reality, that's ultimate reality that cannot be questioned, is the self. And the one reality that you never let go, that you are always the self. When you dream, the dream body is the same self as the wakeful body. The thinking in the dream body, the person who thinks is the same person who went to sleep, not somebody else. You go to a higher plane, your body changes, you're still the same self. You go to a form where there's no body at all, just an energy around you, a light around you, you're still the same self. You go to your true home, become total, the same self. Self never changes. Self is the only reality, the experience of who's experiencer. That's the reality. That is why they say, know thyself. Socrates didn't say for nothing. Know thyself. That's the whole secret. If you know yourself, you will know everything. But the discovery of the self is difficult because we are constantly looking at what is around the self, not the self. So the self is the secret, and we have to find who we are and not what we are experiencing. The experiences have been generated in different forms. Why were these experiences generated? Because they gave a variety. Obviously, if our true nature is consciousness, say let's to be conscious, then we have to be conscious of something to be conscious. You cannot have consciousness per se existing if there's nothing to be conscious of. If there's nothing to be conscious of, the consciousness disappears. Therefore, the self disappears if it is consciousness, if there's nothing to be conscious of. Therefore, supposing we call the consciousness that exists, totality of consciousness, as the creator, it cannot be a creator if there's no creation. Therefore, when people say the creator is permanent, and I also tell them the creation is permanent. If there's no creation, there'll be no creator. So both of them are permanent. That means the experience of the self is also as permanent. But it's experience as of the self, not what kind of experience. That can change. And that has changed. From the time we left our true home, we are all using these stories to describe it in physical terms. We left our true home and we have generated several kinds of experiences. The first experience was the most beautiful experience, which we say experience in our true home. In our own totality, we experience that the one can hold the many. Like I gave example, that the one glass of water can hold 1 billion drops or 1 million drops or 1 trillion drops. The awareness can keep on shrinking and making them smaller. But the glass remains whole and nothing changes in the glass at all. And yet all the experience can be generated by awareness in the glass. That's our totality, the many in the one. And the many is not separated from the one, still part of the one, never separated. We create a separation for experience. The word experience is very often used by us as experience in time. Since the mind cannot understand experience beyond time, you only have to go and experience it. What experience means outside of time? It's very different, but it cannot be described. So I'm not even attempting to describe it. But all I can say is that the experience of the one and the many in the one, is an experience to show what the nature of the consciousness is, what the nature of the self is. And does it turn into an experience outside of time? We hear these words, God is love. Do we believe it? I believe it. I say creator is love. I say totality of consciousness is love. I say the ultimate power is love. I accept it. But it's not a lover, not a beloved, not an experience of love. Then what is love? Do we know any love except the experience of love? Not at all. So what is the meaning of the word love then? If we can't even experience it, what does it mean? We're using this big word, L-O-V-E, God is love, without knowing what love is at all. All our experiences, the experience of love, being a lover or a beloved, and not the experience of love per se. How does love become an experience for consciousness? By creating the many in the one. The moment the many are created in the one, lovers and beloveds are born automatically, right within the one. So imagine the beauty of that experience. Imagine the beauty of that creation within our own totality. That's where the starting point is of experiences. What's the next step? Next step is to make it even more visible by giving individuality to every drop. The many now become individual. A further separation. The separation is creating the experience, not the unity. When you unite, experience as we know it disappears. Therefore, for consciousness to have a creation in which there is experience available, you have to have the many in the one. So the many, when they become more individual, the first set of the many are always one and many, one and many. They can be one and many all the time. But next level is the many think there we are separated. So the experience of love gets intensified because we are not separate. We can love each other. Oh, we were only loving each other because we were loving ourselves in the first stage. Now we can love each other. The love becomes a bigger experience. The first step we call Sachkhand, our true home. Second step we call Parabrahm, where the souls are individuated. But the individuation is also an illusion. It's created. It's not real. Reality remains one. Reality, ultimate reality, never changes from one. So when they say Parabrahm, it's beyond Brahm, beyond the creative power of these universes. These universes have not existed still, but we have the experience of individuated souls having experience of each other, thinking we are all separate souls. Next devolution down below, we add a big machine to ourselves, a big computer, the most beautiful, wonderful, most efficient computer that can ever be designed by anybody, called the human mind. That great computer comes and the computer creates things we could even not imagine. It creates space and time. It creates time, and time in an instant. So there is a state of time. If I begin to describe time to you, I'll take 2 hours to describe time. It's such a fundamental thing in our experiences. There's a timeless time there. The timeless time is in one instant, you can have all events placed on a line. We drop the events and they all flow one instant, 1 nanosecond, they are all placed in place. These are the events that will happen. How many events? Infinite. Mind can't imagine that, but it happens. So there's timeless time in what is called the lower part of Parabrahm. The Parabrahm has 2 parts. Top part is part of Sachkhand, where you can still experience the one and the many. The lower part is where the timeless time has been created. From where? In the lower parts, the 3 worlds of time and space will be generated, called the causal, astral, and physical planes. So when these planes are created, it's amazing. We connect those events that have been placed on the timeline, generated at one go. We place those events and now they have to play out one after the other. So we create a relationship between those events already placed on the timeline called cause and effect. And a new law is born, beautiful law controlling our lives called the law of karma. The law of karma is created because the connection we create between one event and another event. One becomes a cause, one becomes an effect. So it starts working. Then we want to play it further. We divide the perception of these events, which each of us can know, the divided souls can know. We divide it further into the perception being cut off and differentiated. Seeing is something different. Hearing is something different. Touching is something different. Smelling is something different. So the 5 senses of perception are generated from one sense of perception, and we come to the astral stage, from the causal to the astral stage. Those sense perceptions are merely a means of using consciousness in a different way. We go one step further and we come where we are sitting here. We add matter, molecules and atoms to this whole experience and have physical bodies, physical universe, physical matter, physical things, and experience of physicality and experience of matter. What a great game. What a beautiful game is being played. And can you imagine that this which I have just described to you, from the origin to this state where we are sitting here, is all knowable, accessible in reverse order through meditation and through going within your own self. That's the beauty of it, that this is not just a theoretical model made up. This is based upon the experience one can have. And who can have that experience? Every one of you. It's not unique to anybody. Don't think that there are special people born who have that unique ability to go there. Each one of us has the capacity, and all the structure that I'm mentioning, the structure stands absolutely intact inside each one of us. Therefore, it's all a question of going within. Why don't we go within? Because when we decided to have this separation and decided to enter one head of one of the characters created in this show, we timed it also. We timed it how long we want to enjoy a particular show in time. When we go to a movie, we know how long it's going to last. You go to a play, we know how long it will last. We set up a DVD play at house, we know how long it's going to last. We time it. We have timed our experiences here, ourselves. And therefore, we don't undo the timing that we have done. But when the timing is off, automatically it comes to us, time to end this, time to go back, which we can't understand the whole show. We have cut that all off. We have blocked ourselves to create realities. And therefore, we feel we are seeking something real. This is not our place. This is not real. This can't be real. This is too temporary. These kind of feelings start coming, programmed by us. That the time has come to go back. So I am telling you a story, a nice story, like Diane says. And says story is good, but here is a story that you can verify, it will become your story. If you go within yourself, it will become your story, not somebody else's story. And if you reach the end of the story, from where I began the story, you will find it's everybody's story. There is no everybody except yourself. Everybody is the same self. The one self is creating an experience of the many at so many levels, including this level. Now imagine when we meet people like great master Baba Sawan Singh. When I see this man has the awareness. When he is sitting in the physical body, he has the awareness of who he is in the top at one. He knows all of us sitting around him are himself in the ultimate reality. What would be his attitude towards us? Accept love, accept compassion. Love and compassion are automatic with self-realization. If you have self-realization, there can be no hatred for anybody. You cannot say, I dislike this, I dislike that. In Gurbani, in Guru Granth Sahib itself, in Punjabi it says, Jiya jant sab udde, Manda kis nu akhiye, je koi duja hoye. How can I call somebody bad if there's no somebody else? There's only one. How can we call anybody bad? Yet look at the judgments we pass here. Do you know when we pass a judgment what it means? If you judge anybody, it means you are a slave of your mind. You become a slave of your mind. The mind wants to judge, not you. You know the reality. Your soul knows the reality. That's the same, you're all one. But the mind says, no, we are different. That's how we have to create more experiences. Experience is generated by separation. Therefore, we use the mind to create space and time for separation. Separation of events, separation of experiences. Therefore, the mind is working toward that end. And that is why we are slaves of the mind if we make any judgment. No wonder when you come across these great perfect living masters, You'd never find judgment in them. I remember. And I just told you the story earlier. Let's try today meditation behind the eyes with love and devotion, where you visualize your beloved and you express your love to the beloved in the best way you can and see the results of it. Please assume that your body is your house and you are sitting on the 6th floor of that house behind the eyes. First, establish yourself in the meditation chamber behind the eyes, then visualize your beloved, then start any kind of meditation you want, including Simran, listening to the sound, or conversation with the Master.